As always, today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities, makers of reliable, all-American steel fire training structures built the way you train. Fire Facilities towers, burn rooms, and mobile units help you prepare to respond and survive. Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Today's guest is Jeremy Sanders. You know Jeremy from Crew First Culture. Now, Jeremy has been a firefighter for the City of Edmond in Oklahoma for 21 years, and he currently serves as the rank of captain. Now, he lives near Tulsa with his wife, Erika, who he shares 8 kids with and 1 grandson. In 2020, Jeremy created Crew First Culture and the Crew First Culture podcast, in which he shares the importance of the pursuit of personal daily growth. The daily growth has helped him to not only become a better firefighter and a better officer, but also a better dad and a better husband. So, but when I'm like you, I like to shoot from the hip. I don't like to have too many notes because then it locks you in. Well, that's one of the things I love about your podcast is when I first found your podcast, I had already been doing mine a little bit, but I didn't have a voice yet. I really didn't have, I don't know. I just didn't know exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I remember listening to you and I was like, okay, this guy it's just that sitting at the firehouse table talking, which is kind of the back of my head, what kind of wanted. So, I just love your podcast, right? And that's how I found out. I had no idea about your training or anything like that. I just found your podcast and began listening. So earlier today, you and I were texting back and forth, and I was at the gym, and I was listening to I think it's your 3rd episode. And that one hits home for me, man. I love that one because one, it was during COVID. So like this is like your COVID baby, I guess, right? You know, you delivered this in
Pretty
COVID.
much, yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about how the openness, the honesty, how this is not necessarily and I'm paraphrasing the path you planned on taking. And, you want nothing but feedback and talk about fire stuff. I mean, like I said, I told you today, it's like third or 4th time I've listened to it because whenever I get into a struggle with the podcast, I'll put that in and I'll listen to it. Sometimes I'll listen to, a few minutes of it, or I'll listen, like today, listen to the whole thing. Loved it, brother. You do a great job, man. Thanks for being on.
I appreciate it. These are fun times for me. I always say it, when I am invited on as a guest to a different podcast, because it's so nice to be on the other side of it and just kind of enjoy the conversation. I don't have to worry about kind of keeping it going and all the background stuff, which for me is not much, because my podcast there's not much to it, man. It's just a record button and talking. I don't hardly edit anything. I don't have a cool like music coming into it, which I tried that for a little bit. Like you said, finding that voice. I think that's where I was too. I don't even know why I did it. It's not me. I'm not a big talker at all. I'm not somebody that just loves to put my voice out there and all that. But I'm turning out I'm realizing that this is part of my purpose, and it's just part of who I was meant to be. And so through that process, I can't live other people's lives. I have a lot of struggles as far as like imposter stuff and comparison and things like that, which it's embarrassing to me. I've put that out there a few times because I don't want to be like that. But then I sit and think about it. It's like, even if I tried to be like some of these other, either people or bigger names of podcasts or whatever, it wouldn't come off as authentic. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I feel like that's really my thing. If I have anything, it's just the ability to just be authentic. And, I might not be the guy that teaches the sexy classes that fill up rooms, but I promise you, if I'm teaching something or if I'm talking about something, it's going to be because I have an emotional tie to it and I am passionate about it, because I don't waste my time with anything else, because and I don't even know how to say this without sounding like a tool or whatever, but the person I am and the person I put out there, it's worth too much to devalue that with me trying to play somebody else's role. You know what I mean? If that kind of makes sense. And so it's just me, and I think that there are lots of great podcasts that fill every little niche and hole there, but to me, I think that social media and even podcasts, that there needs to be more real out there. There needs to be more authentic, more just natural and lifelike. Lifelike means that we're messing up, we're making mistakes, and we're learning from them, and we're sharing them so other people can learn from them without having to make them themselves. And so that's just kind of that's what I feel is right. I don't want to be somebody that's always focused on negative at the same time. I mean, I always want to end at least on that positive note, but I just, I've realized that a part of the purpose why I am here, why I was made, is to share my story and everything that I've been through and everything that I've learned to help others. That's just part of what I was made for. And so I've enjoyed kind of discovering new pathways of sharing that. So anyway, I do appreciate you listening, and anybody else out there that spends the time listening, because as well as I do, there's a million different options as far as what somebody wants to listen to or spend time, absorbing nowadays. And so it's pretty powerful to, hear even that you're just listening and that you resonated with it. But if
Oh yeah,
those
absolutely.
times that you get really good messages, it's powerful.
Well, there's so much in common with you and I. So if anybody knows me, this is not what I was going to do. I'm not the guy that does podcasts. That wasn't me. If you listen to the podcast, I've told the story several times. I was reading. I'm getting ready to go to Florida on a vacation. Every time I go, I take a book with me to read. And so this one year, I took Jared Sergi's
Yep.
book, and I loved it. It just, you talk about resonating, man. Everything he said, I was like, oh my God. And I knew I wanted to do something like him. I wanted to put my name out there. I wanted to be part of the national conversation. Something in my brain said, hey, podcast. I've never done it before, never wanted to do it before. And it was burned into my brain. It just was. And once I did it, it was, I love telling this story. It's like, so I had to have Jared as my first guest. That was that. I figured he
Yeah.
wouldn't do it, so that way I'd get out of it. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
to do the podcast. But of course, he's the nicest guy in the world, and he said, "Oh, absolutely." So I did it, and I
Dang
hit
it.
this. But yeah, I know, right? That's what. And I bought a bunch of equipment just because I knew if I spent money, I'd have to do it. So I did
Yeah.
all this stuff. I hit upload after I interviewed him and everything, and I ran up to my wife. She works from home, and I like a little kid. I said, "Oh, I did it! I did it! It's out there now. I can't take it back." Like an idiot. Um, but for me, I've made so many mistakes in my career that I feel like I can share those here to help those people that maybe don't have to make that mistake, or made that mistake only once, where I've made it like 1,000 times. So
Yep.
that is how I feel so connected to your podcast, because when I hear you talk, I swear that it's stories that I could tell too. You're open, you're honest, you're not afraid to let people know mistakes you've made, um, and what you've learned from them. So there's a lot of power in your podcast, I think. Um, I will tell you this: did a real quick search on Firefighter podcast before I started, and I couldn't find any. I must have done something wrong, and I'm so glad I didn't find any, because I decided to do the podcast. And now I'm like, oh my God, there's so many
Oh yeah.
podcasts out there. If I knew how many podcasts were out there, I definitely
Yeah.
would have done it. So it all worked out pretty well for me, brother. But yeah, same thing for you. But let me ask you a question real quick. I'd love to know this answer. Are you the same on your podcast as you are at the firehouse? Would the people that work with you say you're the same person? Because, and I'll explain my part here in a little bit, but just real short, I don't think I am. But you go ahead and I'll explain mine after you.
Man, I want to say yes. I mean, I guess I've never asked that of people because honestly, I don't ever really even bring it up. You know, I don't even honestly know if the people that I'm currently with have ever listened to it. I know some crew members in the past when I was doing it were listening here and there, but the current group of people is all new within the past, I guess, year and a half. And so I don't even know if they've actually experienced it. So to be honest, I hope so. I feel like I just like I've already mentioned. I'm just trying to be who I know to be, and that's just me. You know, I don't have any interest in putting up any kind of fake persona or like personality or like playing a role or anything like that. I don't have any interest in that. And so I hope so. That's about as honest as I could answer it. But you know, I'm sure there are times when there are a lot of times when the message I am saying and what I'm talking about is because I need to hear it. So it's almost like, you know, I'm talking to myself, you know,
Yeah, I get
talking
that.
myself through things. So there might be a little bit of difference in there, but I think for the most part is pretty close. I'm
Well, here,
interested to hear your difference.
okay, so here it is. All right, now I, I am the training officer for my department, and so for me to say this, you got to take a grain of salt with this. I do not believe we have the best training culture where I work. I'm not bashing on it. I'm just saying some places have really strong, some have almost none. I don't
Yeah.
think ours is as strong as it should be. Because of that, for the longest time, I would suppress at work some of my thoughts and feelings. Like whenever a new like UL NIST study or anything came out, I was like, oh, giddy and stuff, you know, like a little girl. I was just all excited. Anytime there's new tools or new tactics or new videos or somebody's near, you know, speaking. We just had Mark Van Oppen here a couple days ago near us. I would just, but no one else was all that excited about that stuff where I was at. So I was wrong in suppressing my love of the fire service. I
Yeah.
mean, I did my job. Don't get me wrong, and I try to. There's several people I work with that are just fantastic, and they love talking this stuff. But basically, I think it was a surprise for a lot of people because I just don't hit them over the head with my passion, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was a mistake that I made for several years ago. But when I got started here at the podcast 3 years ago, I can't help but contain it, man. I get to talk to Jeremy Sanders and Coralie Moore and all these people. How am I going to not let people
Yeah.
know how excited I am about my job? I love my
Yeah.
job. So I think for all this to say, I think if some people that I work with ever watch this, they'd be like, "Holy cow! I had no idea he was like this." I think it's coming out slower and slower and slower. I mean, I'm the training guy, so I get super excited about stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing, and I hate that about myself that I was afraid to like share my passion or show my passion. But everything led me here, so I can't really complain too much, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of maybe as you described that, maybe a little bit with me, but I think more in the sense of if it's somebody that I've worked with in the past that hasn't maybe been around me in a while, they would absolutely probably answer you like, you know, I don't even know who that is. But that's the truth, and I hope that continues to be the truth because I don't want to be the same person next year that I am
No,
right now. And
right.
so maybe that's kind of what you're seeing in yourself as well. And I don't really think that's being a different person. I just think that you're learning, you're growing, you're trying to find your space and your voice, like you've said, and it's just part of the process.
30 years into it, I kind of wish I did this about 29 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going to bring something up real quick. I want to bring up your page to talk about it here in a second. Because, like I said, when I first heard you was on your podcast, I had no idea all the things you did. And I mean, you've got an amazing website. Um, so,
thanks, man. I built that myself. I'm pretty proud of that.
no, no. Oh, you
For
built it
somebody that
yourself?
doesn't know it, yeah, I didn't know anything
Okay.
about it. I just kind of figured it out.
Here you go. Here's what. Now I'm gonna hit you over the head with a brag. You ready? Bragging on you. So it hit. It's my third favorite website for a firefighter, and I'll tell you what they are because they're hilarious. You go to Nozzle Forward, Aaron Fields. His bios on his instructors crack me up every time. A big shout out to Devin Craig. His Train or Die is an amazing website, right? And it's a lot of fun. And yours is exactly the same way, bro. It is. There's so much there. Now, here's where you're going to probably get mad at me. I'm officially going to absolutely build me a website now. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Do me a quick favor. Drop a like on it, hit subscribe so you will know when a brand new episode drops. Now back to the podcast. I've got merch, but I've never put on my website. I've got, other podcasts I've been on. I've got YouTube, all this stuff. And I'm looking at yours and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. As a matter of fact, I'm going to steal something from you. I mean, right here. Here's my favorite. Well, yeah, this is my favorite part, probably. Your partners and friends. Now, this is so cool. This is where you're just supporting brothers and sisters that you believe in their mission or their message. And I'm looking on here, and for those, I want everybody to go to crew1stculture.com, crew1stculture.com. It's a great website. I promise you'll love it. But on your partners and friends, you have Firefighter Rescue Survey, and I'm just hitting a few of them, by the way. You got Mark Alone, The Fire Inside. You've got the Couplings podcast. You've got Duffy's, of course. You got Taylor Tins, Train or Die. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You got all these great things. And it's just because you're sharing your passion for the job with these people. You're not getting kickbacks or nothing like that. Nope. And then, of course, your podcasts are on there. Other podcasts you've been on are on there. Hopefully a 3-Point Firefighter link will be up there. And your merch is absolutely the best. I want everybody to go to the merch, and I'll tell you what. Are you a Star Wars fan? Is that what it is?
I am. That's a really delicate turn or a question there, because because I've known some Star Wars fans, and I'm not a Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars, I'll say that, but I'm not I don't know the backstories of all the characters and the be real characters and all. I just like the movies.
Okay, that's totally fine. I could tell.
But yes, there are some nods to Star Wars in there for sure.
Absolutely, some great references. I want everybody to go to this website, Crew1ST Culture. The hats, dude. I'm telling you, you got great stuff, great challenge coins. Anyway,
that's the point, or that's what I wanted to accomplish by that is everything. And you're absolutely right. It's almost stupid how many things I've got out there, just social medias and podcasts and guest podcast episodes and articles, all this stuff. And it's not like not anything special. It's just everybody has a bunch of crap, and I just wanted to make it as easy as possible for somebody just to go there and find anything and everything. And there's also, I haven't updated in quite a while, but there's also a Google Drive in there. There's an area for documents, and there's a Google Drive, kind of like a baby Kyle Romikis's Bro Drive, but just some stuff that I've kind of collected as far as job descriptions and new hire type things that we were looking through as far as our department. And so just a lot of resources basically as well.
There's a ton of them.
The friends area, that's one of my favorite parts too, because that's absolutely right. It's not like I am a sponsor of these or they're sponsoring me. These are literally, I would say 99% of those names and companies on there are people that I've met and had at least some good conversation with, and most of them have actually made an impact on my life. And so I definitely want to do the best I can to pay a little bit of that forward and share their message as well. So that's kind of the point of all that.
I'm stealing that page, but I'm going to
That's
give you
right.
credit, and the very first link on there is going to be Crew First. I promise you.
That'd be
That's
perfect,
an
man.
amazing. And then you
I
got
don't
the.
have a patent on it, so you're good.
It's just big brotherly love. I
Yeah.
see here it says Engine 3 Company Probationary Firefighter Task Book. So
Yep.
this is the actual one you use in Edmond, right?
So we, at the time I made that, we didn't have anything department wide or wise. And so that's why I started reaching out. Hey, send me what you got. And I just created something that I liked myself, that made the most sense, that looked the best. And for a little period, I just used it for my crew, because like I said, we didn't have anything, and we were getting new firefighters right out of the academy. I wanted something. And so now the department has taken that and kind of tooled it to what they want and what they need, and we have a department version of that. But at the time, yeah, that was kind of the only thing we had.
Oh wow, it's good too. I was going through it. I love like I just saw the SCBA familiarization and all that. That is something that I've noticed a lot of people tend to once you learn the SCBA, it's assumed that's you got it for the rest of your career. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
follow up on
Oh
it,
yeah.
and that is such a huge mistake. So I love that that's in there. And let's pick a fight real quick. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Have you ever, or do you, when you get off the truck, have your waist strap unhooked?
I tried at my very best, and unless we are like 2 blocks away from where we're going,
Hmm.
it it's going to be buckled up. I will admit that there have been some times where I'm lucky to have all my stuff together while I got off, because it was such a quick kind of transfer from where we were to where we're going.
Hmm.
So that was kind of a discombobulation there. But no, the goal for me is to be ready to go, man. If I've got time, I'm even going to have my gloves on coming out. I feel like that's the best way to go, especially if something were to happen to where you come on scene and you are pushed into action right away. I don't have to worry about anything except for just masking up and getting the job done. So that's what I would say for sure.
See, you're the only person I've posed that question to so many people because that is a huge thing for me. I cannot stand people that now I used to do it. Don't get me wrong, I used to do it,
Yeah.
but um, I'm completely against it. You're the only person that's ever once given me a reason. Oh yeah, if I'm a couple blocks out, man, I got to go to job out, dude. I'm not gonna worry about that. If there's somebody out the way, I get that. That makes total sense to me. But when I see these people doing it, when I did it, I probably thought I was super cool or something. I wasn't. I don't know that I've
Yeah.
ever been cool, but I've always asked that question, and they're like, I don't know, I just don't. And so that's always been like a big thing of mine. I'm like, why do people? What is it? And
Yeah.
you are the only one to ever give me a logical answer. Perfect,
Well, and
outstanding, young man.
it's just the look, right? The vision of, now you're talking. It's interesting because you talk about how you felt back in the old days when you were doing it, how it
Mhm.
made you feel cool. But now you look at it now and it's just like, is that how that person's going to operate? Half done.
Mhm.
Are they not going to put their full effort into a task that I'm going to depend on them to do? It's just that whole picture of what you're putting out there. I feel like it's a little thing maybe to some people, but all these little things, man, it doesn't take very many of them to start making bigger things. And so that's kind of for me, and it even bleeds into the whole automatic alarms. You know, I we made it a priority several years back that, okay, we are going to bunk out completely on automatic alarms, which department wide is not a thing. I mean, there might be some people doing it, but it's not a thing.
Mhm.
And so it took a little bit to kind of make it a thing for us and make it part of our culture. And I'm telling you right now, just being honest, there's some days where we'll work out or do some heavy training in the morning, and of course all your crap is just nasty, and you go take a shower, and what's going to happen 15 minutes after that shower?
Better
automatic
run.
alarm, and you're just sitting there like, gosh dang it, I don't want to put this stuff on. But just it's just like a discipline thing. Just do it. It's part of what you are asking your people to do. Just do it. And so that has been a very tough test of my discipline at times. But it's all the same thing. You're getting off. You're ready to go. If it's nothing, okay, it's nothing. If it is,
Right.
then no big deal. We're ready. So
Yeah, and that's it. I believe I'm of the belief that we need to be bunked out every time. Turn out every single time you make a run. I'm going to take it a step further. This is where I'm going to aggravate some people. If you make it like a high rise, right? Whatever is a high rise to you in your area, and you make this high rise every day. Every day comes in. Usually comes in around lunchtime or dinner time, whatever. Um, I would go as far as say not only do turn out completely, but also um, take your high rise pack up and hook it up. Hook it up. You don't have to turn anything on, you don't have to charge anything, but get that default set going. You do not lose anything, especially if you got younger people. Um, you don't lose anything. You go up, and as your crew now, let's say you can see it's one of those buildings you can see there's nothing going on. Still have your crew do it, even if you go up to the door and just ask them like you can see they're at the door like hey we're over here it's fine it's nothing. Still have your crew do it because then it's at that default setting because the whole idea to me the default setting is when stuff starts going really really bad you default into
yeah,
your training, and if your
yeah,
default setting is to not do your job because you want to get back to the firehouse, well that's what's going to happen. You're not going to do your job. So
yeah,
I've seen that happen. When I got started about 100 years ago in the Air Force as a firefighter, they had us catch a plug every time. Every single time we went to an automatic alarm, we literally got off, caught a plug, and they pulled up a little bit, and we connected to it and everything. We didn't charge it. We got everything ready to go. And that's how I was brought into the fire service. Fast forward to when I started working for Lexington and New Albany, they didn't do that. Most people don't do that. I get that.
yeah,
But I feel like that got me way more prepared because if something happened, that default setting would have kicked in, not me going, "Oh crap, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?"
yeah,
So I feel like we could do a whole lot more for our citizens by being ready, being uncomfortable because our job is uncomfortable. But you'd mentioned it being a culture thing too, like at your department, it's a
yeah.
culture change. I know you and I probably share a lot. Well, I know we do because I've listened to your stuff, a lot of stuff on culture. So for you, how hard is it to change a culture in your department?
Uh, I'll I don't even know how to answer that question. I will answer a question a level or two below that. I know that just changing a culture in a crew, like not even a firehouse, a crew
Mhm.
of five people, like I have tried, that journey we've been on. It took 5 years to see some work, to see some actual benefits of what we were doing, and that's one crew with only five people. And so to change an entire department, I don't even know. I mean, it's going to be the whole uh, Rob Fisher, 10 pounds of pressure, 100% of the time
Yeah.
type slow move. But I've heard it a long time ago, and I've repeated it so many times, and I can't even remember who to give it to. But it was the best description of culture I've ever heard. It's basically like you're steering. It's like you're in a cruise ship or a giant warship, whatever, and you're steering it with a tiny 6-inch rudder.
Hmm.
You're gonna move, you're gonna turn eventually, but it's not gonna happen anytime soon. And so that I promise you, that's what it feels like. Even like I said, my level, that's where I can answer that. I'm a station officer, and that's been a big part of my story, and really everything I speak on and all that. It's a big part of who I am, just that journey, and to even maybe even think about a shift where you're talking about a third of the department is almost overwhelming to me. It's almost like I know what it took for one crew, and I almost get anxiety thinking, "Oh gosh, how would you ever, how would you ever do that?" But it's the same thing. You got to figure out where you're going, where you want to be, and you got to just start making the best decisions as you can. And when you mess up, you own it, you correct, and you keep going. That's you just breaking it down as easy. It's funny that you say that. I'm trying to finish up an article right now that's called, how to fly airplane while you're building it. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You're leading a crew and you don't really know how to lead a crew. How are you going to do that? Or you're changing culture and you barely know what the word culture means. How do you do that? But just breaking it down into that, it takes a vision. It takes buy-in.
Well, that's part
So
one with
taking
Jeremy.
care
I
of your
hope you loved it.
people,
He's a great guy.
and it takes
Come back next
consistency.
Monday
And
for the second
that's
part.
been the hardest one for me, is that consistency.
Our podcast today was sponsored by Fire Facilities. This Made in America company is dedicated to constructing top quality custom training structures to meet your needs. Make your training count with all steel structures that are made to last. Visit firefacilities.com for more details.